there, friends and sane persons, and welcome to another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Wednesday Whimsy is a short show that I do every Wednesday evening where I talk about a board game, a top 10 list, or some other game-related topic, whatever happens to be on my mind. My name's Kyle, by the way. It's just Kyle, not Kyle, by the way. Um, well, I talked last week about some games that I had played at Dice Tower Retreat. And I talked about one game that was already known to me, but that I did play and I enjoyed. And that was one that I guess I figured I need to talk a little bit about a little bit more here. It's one I've been excited for a while. It's been, a while since it was announced, several years actually. It was announced, it was previewed, it was shown at Gen Con, they did a Kickstarter for it. The Kickstarter took forever, as usual. And that game is, this is just the lid here, whoops, Luthier. Now, Luthier is a game about making and repairing musical instruments. It is a very musical theme, and I figured I would talk a little bit about it today. I've been playing a lot of it lately. So what is it about? I already indicated it's about making and repairing musical instruments. So you are one of a family of historical instrument makers, luthiers. It's not a term I'd ever heard before. I'm assuming it's related to the word lute. But you are, that's what you're doing. And so you are trying to find patrons, you're trying to make impressive masterwork musical instruments, and ultimately get the most points, because that's what really matters, after over the course of 6 rounds. That's kind of that's what it is. So it's all about the instruments you can make, the different types, and the different ways that you're going to be crafting them. So how does it work? It was kind of a weird game. No, good weird, but it's not really like anything else. Let me see if I can share a picture here of the game board. So the game board here looks a little bit busy, and that's, well, because frankly it is. But the core mechanism here is you're going to be placing your workers, right? It's worker placement, sort of. I guess it's probably the right one. But every person starts the game with 3 workers, and they're these worker chips. You can see them kind of right here. And you're going to go around the table, and you're going to be placing your worker out face down wherever you really want it to go, whichever action you want to do. Now, you do this, your workers at the start of the game come in strengths of 1, 3, and 5. And eventually, later on, you'll get a 2 and a 4. But you know when you put your worker down that whoever puts the strongest worker at an action, that person gets to do the action first. Now, you don't know what other people are placing, so there's sort of some air of mystery here, and a little bit of tactics and a little bit of reading people. When you place a worker, you also have the ability to use 1 to 3 apprentices, and apprentices are one-time use bonus chips that you'll put on top, and they will they'll increase the value of your worker. So you'll see what other people have placed, but you won't know the numbers yet. So you're going to go around and around until everyone's placed all their workers. And then the round starts, and in turn order, each person's going to pick a spot where they have a worker. For example, if I were blue, and I had a worker here at the perform action. Oops. At the perform action here, I could choose to activate it. And we would then reveal all the other chips that are here, and we would place them out in order, and whoever went there first will win ties, and then you're going to be taking the actions. Now, each of the different spots has 2 actions you can do. One is always for free. There's always something you can get there. For example, you can get 3 animal materials, I guess like strings or whatever, or you can perform 1 musical piece. And you'll see that there's 4 available. Well, there's a secret 5th option available, but that's really only available once per game. But you're going to pick which one you want to do. The first 2 are available to everyone. The second one can only be reached if you've reached a certain tier on a track, or if you pay money, and the third one, same thing, you just have to pay more. And then for this action, you're going to be adding to it the value of the worker you place there, and you're trying to sort of hit certain thresholds on this musical piece. And depending on how well you do, you'll get different amounts of money. If you do sort of a medium or high level performance, you'll be able to do sort of one of the core goals of the game is to claim, is to put one of your tokens out here in the symphony. So with that piece we were looking at there is, I believe this is Baroque, a Baroque piece. And so if you performed that well enough, you could put your token out on one of the Baroque spots and you'll get the. And at the end of the game, if you still have your token in the first chair portion up at the top, well, then you're going to get some bonus points. Now, other people can come on and usurp it. You can usurp it by placing somebody putting more tokens there than you, or by making the actual musical instrument that goes with that. So, for example, this bassoon here, I hold the first chair with my music until someone comes and kicks me out. Anyway, that's just one of the different actions you can perform. But one of the other kind of major things you're trying to do is meet the needs of your patrons. So each patron has a musical instrument that they want, and then they have sort of some flexible requirements for the other things. Like this guy here, Mozart, he'll take a repaired, geez, that symbol doesn't look like, whatever symbol this is, this must be a prototype, because that, it looks like it's supposed to be a string, but it's a different symbol than what came out in the final one. Anyway, he'll take a repaired version of an instrument, or he'll take a song of his particular type. And then he also wants an instrument. So what you're doing is you're collecting these patrons, and at the start of every round, they're going to give you a gift. And the first time, it looks like Mozart's going to give you a medal. The second time, he'll give you an apprentice. And the third time, if he goes 3 rounds without having his needs met, he's going to get angry and storm off and cost you some points. But each time you meet one of his requirements, he'll reset his patience track and be willing to grant you more gifts and favors. So, you know, you're kind of trying to keep your patrons happy as well. You don't want to lose them. And so you're trying to plan out the actions you're going to be doing so that you can say, well, okay, I can't get Mozart all the way this round, but I can at least keep him from storming off in a huff by giving him a Baroque musical performance. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to fulfill those things. And then kind of the core piece, what everyone's really trying to do, is to build musical instruments. The building of musical instruments happens with, well, there's 2 sort of private actions on your board, but you'll see that each instrument, yeah, these are from the prototype. The symbols have changed a bit, but this needs 2 different types. I'm assuming that's wood. No, it's metal. It's metal. That's the metal, and you'll need to use that to kind of rough it out, and then you'll need to use more on the other side of your board to finish it. And once you finish it, you're going to claim its spot in that orchestra, and you'll also get some bonus points. And anyway, yeah, there's other actions you can do too. There's goals you can meet, but that kind of gives you a sense of the core mechanisms of the game, which are, again, kind of that secret bidding and then timed reveal, because you want to reveal the action where you're going to, you know, if like you needed 4 things before you could do the repair action, you want to make sure you get them before the repair action triggers. So turn order can be important as well. There's really kind of a lot going on, and it's difficult to explain. There's, you know, secret goal or public goals to get, secret goals. In addition to what you're doing, there's also these tracks to move up. Now, tracks aren't that interesting by themselves, but each of the 3 tracks has access to a special worker. So if you hit certain trigger points, you'll be able to pull from a deck of cards and choose what special worker you want. Like, for example, there's this star special worker. And then at the end of the round, you're going to change one of your chips in for a special chip. And for the rest of the game, whenever you use that particular chip, it'll have the value of the chip that you turned in, and it's going to have some sort of special ability. So there's some customization there too. There's a lot going on. It's a long game. It's a big game. It's a somewhat complicated game, but well, let's talk about what I think about it. So what makes this game special? Well, the first thing is all of the little levels of customization. There's a lot of ways to specialize in this. Everyone's always going to be workers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But, you know, the patrons you select, they're going to give you different kinds of bonuses, and those can kind of, you know, push you one way or another. Those special workers on the 3 tracks, those can offer a lot of variety here. There's different things to go for. You might play the game and just not care about patrons. I've never tried it, right? They seem like they offer you a lot, but if you say I don't want to do patrons, I'm just going to play music and do and repair musical instruments and get points that way. Maybe you can do that. There's a lot of different things to try here, and I kind of find that to be really interesting. I also like that, the musical instruments are kind of limited, right? There's only two bassoons in the deck, and the first person to build one gets to claim that spot. So there's a little bit of competition for it. If you see someone else take it and you're working on it, you might want to, get that thing done. And there's two of every instrument except for some unique ones, and those are kind of fun too. Each player starts with a small special ability. It's sort of a starting bonus, basically. That doesn't change the game that much, but it can give you a little push in the right direction. Maybe you get an extra instrument card. One of them gets the access to the number 2 worker a little bit earlier, whatever it happens to be. But as you move up those tracks, you also specialize. You get access for you. So there's a lot of kind of ways to cast your own individual strategy, which I think is really interesting. Also, the theming is pretty good. At its heart, it's a dry Euro, but it's about turning cubes, literal cubes, in for points. Um, but it's nicely themed. The patrons are all historical people. I'm not sure that I love that, and that's just because I don't know Mozart was a patron of the arts. I think he was a recipient of the patronage of others. Um, but these famous musicians, they do want access. Um, but the theme is definitely there. It's not pasted on. It definitely feels like this was designed about. Somebody said, "I want to make a game about making musical instruments," and then figured out how to make it work. And I think that was a good design process here. This is by I think the same designer as Paverson Games' other game, Distilled, which is a game where somebody literally sat down and said, "I want to make a game about making whiskey, and let's figure out how to do it." And so, same thing here. This is a game that is theme first, and that theme is well implemented into the mechanisms. And even though cubes in for points, it doesn't feel like it's scrape awful. Like this is mode in this. It's very easy to implement, very fun, a great way to kind of experience the game if you don't have although there's a lot going on, it's not that complicated. All of the actions are pretty easy. The symbols are pretty good, with one exception that I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, everything's pretty easy to take in. Now, how it all fits together, that's where the being difficult for some people to learn. But whole, it's pretty easy mechanism perspective. Now, let's see, anything else I forgot? Oh, and it looks great. The board looks great. The artwork's great. The components are top quality. This is a well-made game. They did take a couple of years to make it, but they did spend the time wisely, and I think it's been worth the wait. Also, I don't have it here to show you, but there was a dice tower for it that you use only for that one action, but it's shaped like a pipe organ, and it has little chimes in it so that when you drop a die in there, it goes ding 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 ding, and it's kind of a fun touch. So let's talk about the but. There are a couple of buts here. The first of those being, while I did say that the game itself is not that complicated, fitting the pieces together and the ordering of things is very complicated. And I find that many people, including myself the first time I played it, struggle with figuring out sort of how to make everything work in the right order. And it's very possible that you can kind of screw yourself by not doing something in the right order, and so that's going to, and once you do that, that's going to cause you to really slow down as you're trying to plan the turns. Once you get things set, the turns kind of just happen. But the process of placing those workers, even though it should be just placing 3 chips face down, it can really lock people up. There's also a lot of memory involved in this because you might for. And especially when you have the special workers, you want to make that ability happen. If you don't remember, you can find an unpleasant surprise. Also, it's possible to get hosed at a place, even though there's always a good consolation action. If you really need something, you've got to make sure you get it. And there are ways to ensure that happens, but it can be possible that you'll get to an action that's just not what you want when it comes to your turn. So be aware of that. Also, the icons. For the most part, everything's great. Everything works really well. It's easy to understand. They're intuitive. The exception is the three resources, and and cube with a little star on it, and then there's another one that's kind of a piece of all three of those that means any cube. But they're all done in kind of brown and white, and I really wish that they had been in color. It's done sort of for the aesthetic of the cards so they don't stand out, but I really wish, especially the wood cube, the symbol for that, which is kind of a striped cube, I wish that stood out more. And then to that end, remembering I have the upgraded components, and so mine aren't cubes. They're a little piece of wood, a little piece of metal, and then a little white box. And it can be a little bit of a disconnect to remember which is which the first time you play. Again, this all goes away after you've played through a round or two. It's not like it's going to be a huge surprise. And I didn't mention this as I was talking about the game, but it's easy to get resources because you can always use one of your actions to go to the market. And that's kind of like passing for a turn, but it allows you to sort of get whatever you want. So not always easy, but and there is a hard storage limit, so that's another sort of lever to push and pull. But I don't know. It's. I wish that icon were a little bit cleaner, and I don't know how. I think it would be a little glaring, but if those three things had been in color, I think it would have just really smoothed that transition in to making it perfectly playable for everyone. So those are kind of the negatives, I think. Oh, one more thing, and that is, so some people need specific instruments, and you need to know going in, and you can tell by looking at the board, but there are way more stringed instruments than there are horns, and there are way more horns than there are percussion and like pianos and drums. There's only 6 of those in the deck plus the unique ones. And so if you have somebody that needs one of those, you want to make sure you get one. And while it is possible to sort of there's a way to kind of go through the deck and choose, it can be frustrating. Like I played a game where I needed a percussion string or percussion or piano instrument, and one did not come up for the entire game until the very last round. And so I just had to keep, satisfying this patron with other things to get him. He was my starting patron. And you want to get those patrons out of the way so that they can start giving you bonuses. Because I didn't mention it, they give you bonuses once you've satisfied them. And he just hung around the whole game and it wasn't because I wasn't doing anything. I mean, I was planning everything out. And it can be a little bit random with some of the card draws. Anyway, that's that. So where do I come out on this game? Well, I really like it. This one, I actually like it better than Distilled, and I really like Distilled, but I think the theme just grabs me a little bit more. Also, cleaner in a couple of aspects than Distilled. Distilled has some pieces that are a little tricky to process that first time. And this one's a little bit easier, I think, to understand how the pieces fit together, even if the ordering's a little wild cardy. But again, I really like Distilled anyway. And it's not comparable to Distilled at all. They're very different games. They're just from the same designer and publisher. I think it's the same designer. I know it's the same publisher. I really like Luthier. I give it a 9 out of 10. I might have given it an 8 if it weren't for the solo mode, but I really think that solo mode is really well done and very enjoyable to play. It is a long game. I should have said that under the butts. So here we are. Where's the but? The first time you play, this thing's going to last much closer to the 2 hours or even maybe into 3, especially if you play with more than 2 players. So be aware, it's a little on the long side. In fact, it's a lot on the long side. I have people coming over tonight to play games, but it's a weeknight. I can't really set up something that long. So be aware that it's a little bit long, but it's really good. I hope it comes out on BGA because I think that'll make it even more playable. Please, please, please. I know Distilled is there. But even if not, I'm happy to play it on my tabletop, and I really like Luthier. 9 out of 10. Go check it out. It's expensive and large, so try it before you... But if you like the musical instrument theme, I think this will be a good fit for you. And if you like kind of heavier games with a little bit of bite to them, I'm going to end it here. I love technical difficulties. Anyway, I'm going to wish you safe travels, courage when you need it, and I hope to see you back again next time for another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Bye-bye.